without further ado, I'm going to allow group one to introduce themselves and tell us all about bringing warmth to low-income students.
Good morning, thank you, Brenda. Today, our group will be presenting our field project on meeting student needs in Mandan. Our group is committed to supporting children in the community. This project will deliver gifts that bring joy, warmth, and nutrition during the holidays. Our team consists of Ellie Shockley. She serves the North Dakota University System in the North Dakota Public Institution. Linda Oster with the City of Bismarck. Tim Flagstead with Sanford Health. Laura Sandberg with Security First Bank, and myself, Alicia Ragston with Knudsen Realty. We also have Grant Sundquist with Basin Electric. To present on the issues in the meeting challenge, I will hand it over to Linda.
Thank you, Alicia. Human Service Day was a significant day in the leadership program for our group. That day touched our hearts as presenters emphasized the unmet needs of many individuals in our community, but they especially highlighted the basic unmet needs of children in our community. The severity and the magnitude of the deficiencies within our community became clearer as we listened to Josiah Pratt and Sharice Ronas describe the lives of children needing foster care, or those who simply lack the consistent home life, and yet others who were continually in a state of transition. Other days, such as Education Day, further underlined how the lack of basic needs is intertwined with many aspects of our community. Along with housing insecurities, many children in Bismarck experience food insecurity. Add to that, school supplies are seldom at the top of the list for many struggling families. And lastly, a good winter hat and warm gloves or mittens may be a luxury for many students just to go to and from school or to participate in recess, which is unfortunate in our cold winter climate. These enlightened discussions began to lay the groundwork for the focus of our field project by striving to better the lives of children who are underserved in our community. As we researched this further, we learned that many children in the Bismarck-Mandan area live in poverty. Statistics supporting this statement show that as of 2021, 20% of Bismarck school students, 18% of Mandan school students qualify for free or reduced lunch due to low family income. In 2018, 7.2% of children in Burley and 9.7% of children in Morton lived in poverty. In that same time, 8.4% of children in Burley and 9% of children in Morton County experienced food insecurity. Sadly, in addition to low family income and food insecurity, many children in Bismarck-Mandan also experience homelessness. According to the North Dakota Department of Public Instruction, local child homelessness has been climbing. In 2008, there were 426 homeless students in Bismarck and Mandan school districts. By 2020, that number had climbed to 506 children. We also learned that access to free and reduced lunch can help children be healthy and ready to learn in school, but access to food outside of school can be limited. We also learned that access to school supplies is key to student engagement, along with other factors. Specifically, the Kids in Need Foundation reported that students that had access to free school supplies showed that just having those supplies impacted class preparedness, participation, interest in learning, self-esteem, classroom behavior, social engagement, and personal responsibility. Our group came together with a motivation to help kids in our community. We looked at all of this as a very big challenge. The question is, how do you tackle all these issues? Well, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. We knew we needed to approach this one step at a time or one bite at a time in order to succeed. In addition, we didn't want or need to recreate the wheel. We knew there were programs and organizations that had already made an impact in our community. So So why recreate the wheel when we could use what they had learned as a vehicle to meet our goals? We set out to identify strategic partners with the goal of aiding us in getting the much needed resources into the hands of children who are most in need. We found that partnerships between our public school districts and regional organizations are one way, and resources that may be beyond reach for some families can be acquired and distributed to children via collaboration between school district foundations and business leaders. We knew of a program in our community that could accomplish just that. And I will turn it over to Tim to explain what we found.
Thank you, Linda. In 2019, Sanford Health had a very similar vision and how do you support students in need in the community. And as a nonprofit health system, it is the goal of Sanford to, and a mission to give back. So in 2019, started a program called Sanford Cares. And through this program, at the holiday time, Sanford and community partners deliver backpacks filled with very much needed supplies and equipment for the students. So each student receives about $100 worth of supplies, including the backpack. So it includes the backpack, which students then can use throughout their educational career. Includes a winter hat, which, as Linda pointed out, is much needed and unfortunately not accessible to all of the students in our community. Includes mittens, again, much needed, but not always available to everyone. It includes a grocery voucher to Dan's supermarket. So again, this grocery voucher allows students to take that home. Their parents and caregivers are able to use that to purchase food for the holiday season or just day-to-day living, sadly, if that's the need. Then, as it is the holiday season, it also includes some toys, stuffed animals, and some other fun things. Couple those backpacks with delivery in a memorable, meaningful way of going into the schools and having Santa visit, have elves sing Christmas carols, and make it a meaningful event. And when we talk to some past participants of this program, that is truly meaningful to these students because they are able to see positive adult role models come into their school and interact with them. In 2019, started with 2 schools. Again, how do you tackle that? You have to have a focused effort, so focused on Title I schools. Title I schools are those with the greatest needs of students living at or below the poverty level. So started with the two schools that had the greatest percentage of students on free or reduced lunch. 2020, and then gave it to all second grade students. So why all students rather than just targeted? Understand we won't hit everyone, or we will be supplying 2 folks or 2 students who don't necessarily have the need, but it creates an inclusive environment. So it's not singling out any cohort of students. Then Sanford chose second grade because wanted a group of students that's old enough to be responsible to take home a grocery voucher to mom and dad or caregivers, but then still young enough to still believe in the magic of the holiday season. So second grade seemed a natural fit. Then that also makes it able to hit and capture multiple students over multiple number of years. So it's not the same students receiving it each year. So started with 2 schools in 2019, moved to 4 schools in 2020. And then this past year, we're able to, Sanford was able to deliver to all of the Title I schools in Bismarck, which is 7. So we'll show a quick video so give a quick understanding of what that looks like.
The students were excited to have Mr. and Mrs. Claus and Buddy the Elf come to present these backpacks to them. They were, I think, a little nervous at first, but once they sang a few songs, they were excited to look and see what was inside their backpacks.
It's really grown this year. We started this 3 years ago now, and we've gone from reaching 100 second grade students to this year now reaching 400 students across 8 different schools. So it's been a lot of fun growing the program, but just throughout this last year now getting more businesses and organizations involved with being a part of the days, delivering the bags, packing the bags. We just like to share with the community, but also like doing it with the community together. So having everyone involved and all these other people involved with it it's not just about Sanford going out and doing something. It's about people working together and coming together around Christmas time, around the holidays, and giving back to our community.
So fantastic program, but we're sitting here in the offices of the Bismarck-Mandan Chamber EDC as part of the Leadership Bismarck-Mandan program. So what's missing in this program? Mandan. The numbers show that the issue of children poverty does not end at the river. So we approached Sanford Health, asked, what is the plan for Mandan? And ultimately what they told us was, we hope to expand there at some point, but it's probably be about 3 or 4 years before we're able to do that for a couple of reasons, but primarily it is a small group of folks at Sanford who work on this program, and it is not their full-time job. It is in addition to their full-time jobs. So really having the bandwidth to be able to expand it was not available. So we as a team saw an opportunity and a challenge to support this and be able to expand it to an entire differently new community. And with that, then we approached Mandan Public Schools Foundation to get their support as well. So we presented, and we'll talk more about that process as we go on in the presentation, but we presented to the Mandan Public Schools Foundation board, shared the vision, spoke of what Sanford's vision is as a nonprofit health system, and move forward. So now our team goals are by December of 2022, we will hope to bring that we will bring this same program to 4 schools in Mandan. And then we also want to develop a partner infrastructure, but we'll keep it sustainable. We don't want this to be a 1-year program. We know what that will do nothing. So how do we get it to last 1, 5, 10, 15, 20 years? And then how do we be able to expand it to all Mandan schools in the future? So that's what we're going to be working on as a team. And as we were getting into it, we also saw some opportunities that with the added effort and hours available from our team, how can we enhance it for both Bismarck and Mandan students? So we have met with Bismarck educators, asked them their feedback on the program, and found ways that we can leverage our time and commitment to better serve the students by adding potentially books and all of the backpacks or some other at-home educational items. And we're going to have Ellie come up, sorry. Ellie's going to come up and talk a little bit more about what challenges we face and what we're doing to address those.
Thank you, Tim. I'm going to talk a little bit about how we, as we were starting this process, critically evaluated the project and really asked if this is the way to accomplish what we want to accomplish. So the Sanford Cares program, which you just heard about, is a very specific program. So we wanted to make sure that we felt like the fit was really good and that it really helped us achieve our goals. So you heard before about how the program goes into Title I schools. So these are the schools that are designated by the federal and state government as having students at a higher than average level, the portion of them who qualify for free and reduced lunch. And in the approach of the program, all second graders in these schools receive the backpacks. And so that does mean that there are some families that don't necessarily need the items that do receive them. We felt that this was ultimately the right choice because, as alluded to before, it means that the lower income children aren't singled out and aren't stigmatized for distinctly receiving the gifts. So we thought that that was worth it. And through working with the schools and the second grade teachers, parents can receive a heads up. So they're not confused by the gift and they know that they're welcome to pay it forward to someone in need if they don't need the gift. We agreed with the idea of sticking with second graders because as mentioned before, that means there'll always be these new cohorts coming in. More children will be impacted. There won't be a duplication. The Santa delivery seemed like a great thing for the second graders because, as mentioned before, they're not too old to appreciate a Santa visit, but they're also not too young. Some young children are quite afraid of people in costume. And so second grade seems better than kindergarten in that regard. Also around second grade is when students in Mandan Public Schools get iPads. And I can tell you that some students don't have real backpacks, maybe just the drawstring bag. And so it's better stewardship of Mandan's resources to actually have those iPads in a real backpack. So that was a nice, actually very well-fitting aspect of going into Mandan with this. We've also found hinted before as well, that Sanford is very receptive to our ideas. So we've continually found as these interactions have unfolded, so much receptivity and openness to our ideas and our collaboration. So it feels like a really nice relationship that we've built. For example, we are interested in potentially including books, and Sanford is open to that. So that's great. And then another thing that I'd like to share is actually steering committee member Julie Jeske, who is joining us via Zoom. She took time to meet with us to talk about our projects, and it kicked off a really important question or conversation, I should say. So she expressed the potential concern in the community of looking like this is an advertising project. Because if the items that are gifted are all organizationally branded, that could maybe look like that's really the emphasis as opposed to getting necessary resources into the hands of children. It was a really good conversation to have because we continued to have that conversation after meeting with her. She encouraged us to stay true to the Chamber EDC mission. And the part that's the most relevant to our project is shaping the future of our community. So as we continue to grapple with the idea of the challenge of organizationally branded items, we realized that we weren't in a position to rule them out entirely, that we need to balance that concern with sustainability and feasibility for the financial aspects of the project, but that we wanted to consciously favor unbranded items and be thoughtful and strategic about our selective use of branded items. And so it was just really good to come to that decision and have that conversation. Not all branded items are created equal. A branded reusable water bottle, maybe not as much of a concern as some types of apparel. So I just think it's really good that we had that conversation, and now we are tied to that thoughtfulness and just deliberate and conscious approach. So at this point, I'm going to hand it on to Grant, who's going to tell us some more.
Morning, everybody. So I'm going to talk to you guys about what we've done already. And before I get into that, I want to say the official stance is that I don't know what Ellie's talking about, people in costume. We will have the real Santa Claus delivering this in December. I'm gonna take care of it myself. That being said, I'm going to tell you guys about what we've done already. And we've been very fortunate so far. I think it proves that we've got the right direction in our project because almost everyone we've ever approached on this has given us a nod of approval. And when we first approached Sanford over this concept, we'd like to expand across the river, there wasn't really any point of opposition. It was just figuring out the logistics of it. So it's made the execution of this program very easy. Making sure that it was correctly timed with correct purpose, all of those general concerns that you normally have to go through with these types of Chamber EDC projects, we really didn't have to face any of that. And so far we've faced almost nobody shaking their head no at us. So that's been very helpful with our process and with our morale on the project. So after we had our strategic partner, partnering with Mr. Fleischer back there, we wanted not just a financial vehicle to house our capital in. Even the Chamber EDC could do that for us. But it was important for us to have a foundation that kind of lived concurrently with the purpose of Mandan Public Schools. So having the foundation there to partner with has been really nice. After we've had our strategic and our financial sponsors, it was deciding how are we going to use some of the statistics that we just got done discussing and put it into action. And so we partnered with a couple of local employers that were not going to just stand with us at the beginning of the program, but today, tomorrow, as Tim said, 5 years down the road. Starium Financial was very gracious in the fact that they said, here's some of the capital that you're trying to raise. Count us in for the next 5 years. And so we're starting to build a network of partners that is not just here to kick off the program, but also see it to be successful into the future. My employer, Basin Electric, was gracious enough to grant us with a large portion of the capital we're trying to raise already. But above and beyond that, we have a sister corporation across the river in Mandan, NISC, and one of their subsidiaries is a company called iGear. And iGear manufactures a lot of the items that we are seeking to pack this backpack with, including the backpack itself. And the reason that that's a strategic advantage is we don't have any of the concerns with a middleman trying to make margin on the inside of the project. These are all pieces that are sold at cost. So normally you would have to take into effect all of the people in between point A and point B that reasonably need to make a little bit of margin on their end. That's not a concern with us anymore with this project. Basin and iGear have both been very verbal in the fact that they are committed to seeing this through in the first year and seeing it through in subsequent years, and then also offering us logistical solutions to delivery and backpack packing and relationships with how we're going to execute this into the future. So it's been reassuring to have partners that have shown us, hey, we're here today and we're here for you guys in the future. So I think we've laid the groundwork down to have a program that's going to be successful for the near future at minimum. So just to button things up, I'm going to introduce Laura here. She's going to go over some of the items that we are planning to accomplish between now and the end of the year, when the real Santa will show up.
So as Grant has described, we've already completed several important steps in making the expansion to Mandan Public Schools a reality. And we're all very enthusiastic about moving this work forward into the year as it progresses. So now that the final report and the presentation will be complete, our focus really will shift towards identifying and confirming donors in addition to Starion and Basin who have already signed up. So members of our team will initially work with Weston of Sanford Health to meet with existing donors of the Bismarck program and gauge their interest in the expansion to Mandan and growing their impact by being a sponsor of the Mandan expansion as well. From there, we'll identify additional community partners that would have a vested interest in the Mandan community to discuss our goals for the program and their interest in being a part of it. So we'd like to have those donor meetings completed in June so that we can have our funds raised hopefully by August to deliver that. So once those funds are secured, we can begin the really fun part, which would be the selection and the ordering of the items that are going to go into the 2022 Mandan backpack. And our project team will be a part of that process, providing input on the items and providing the connection to comparable pricing through iGear. And then once those items are nailed down and ordered, we can establish those deliverable dates and make plans for assembly of the backpacks. So with those delivery dates targeted, we can share that information with Mandan Public Schools and begin planning the in-school events for December. An aspect of the Bismarck program that we're hoping to explore on the other side of the river is the opportunity for Mandan high school students to earn extra credit through being a part of executing the program and planning it. With this being our first year in Mandan, our project team plans on taking the lead on all of the logistical endeavors in that respect. And then our intention is to create a roadmap that going forward into the future could be handed off to some high school students to help in taking the lead in the future. So around November, when all the backpacks and other items have arrived, we will schedule time to do the assembly of the backpacks, and Sanford Health will be receiving and storing those items until it's time to deliver. And we get to the really fun part, and not just the fun part, but the really special part. And this is the part that the reason that we all signed on for this project, and we get to accomplish our mission of delivering joy and warmth and nutrition to the kids who could use it, especially around the holidays. So in December, our team alongside Sanford Health will deliver the backpacks to Custer, Mary Stark, Roosevelt, and Lewis and Clark elementary schools. And if our feedback from classroom teachers and administration at schools that received these backpacks in the past is any indicator, it's going to be a day that the kids won't forget, and neither will our team. Weston will be an elf. Ellie has said that she would be an elf too, so we're going to hold her to that. The real Santa will be there. And we'll gather all the kids together to play games. We're going to share laughs and engage and encourage with them. And the cherry on top is that these kids will go home with a good quality backpack, a warm hat and gloves, a water bottle, a book, a toy, the $25 grocery card. They're going to have a warm, snuggly stuffed animal. So these are practical items, they're comforting items, and they're items that will remind them that their community cares. So our team shares a commitment to connecting with our community's youth and enriching their lives. And we're proud to be working with Sanford Health and Mandan Public Schools Foundation, organizations that share our mission, and look forward to a long-standing partnership. So once our December events wrap up, we will fold away Ellie's elf costume and begin planning for the next year. Our team is committed to sustaining and increasing our impact over time with this program in Mandan. So as this time as Leadership Bismarck-Mandan class of 2022 winds down, we know our work is just getting started, and that our impact starts with one small step, and that wonderful things really happen when we work together. So thank you to Sanford Health and Mandan Public Schools Foundation for your partnership. Thank you to the Basin Electric and Starion Financial for your initial support of our program. And thank you to the Leadership Bismarck-Mandan program for making this unique opportunity possible for us to work together. That concludes our official presentation. So we'd like to open it up for any questions you have.
Can we have you guys move over there, and we're gonna, some people online to see you as well.
And we failed to introduce two important guests we have in the audience with us as well. We've pointed him out, but Mr. Lee Fleischer is here from the Mandan Public Schools Foundation. So he was kind enough to join us this morning. And then we have Angie Sersha. She is the Executive Director for Legals for Sanford Health Bismarck. She was instrumental in starting the program in 2019. So they're both here too.
Yeah, I don't really have a question, but when Weston and I started the Sanford Cares program, I can't tell you how much gratitude it fills me to see you guys take this and expand it to Mandan, because that was initially our goal. And we knew that it could never just be us, but it really needs to be a community collaborative. So I'm very thankful for all of the individuals in this room and all of our donors that have helped to really push this forward. It is a very powerful thing to go into those second grade classrooms and have these kids, have all these kiddos be so excited to get something. And it covers all the gamuts that we're looking for. So thank you all so much.
You guys had mentioned branding, your concerns for branding. I guess I don't understand why that would be an issue. Is if you look across the public schools, you see, Dakota Community Bank's name on a field, you see Starion's name on a field, you see Shields handing out water bottles, to certain club activities. So I guess I'm not really following why branding would be an issue. Can you elaborate on that?
I think that's a very good question. And we had, I should say, a robust dialogue. It was actually a text stream where we had probably, Tolstoy would have been proud of how long some of those texts were. Ultimately, it came down to Grant had the capstone line of it and say, we're focusing on the wrong thing. We should be focusing on the mission and getting things into children's hands who need them. And ultimately, that's going to be our goal. And now it does make some sense. Do you need, if you're going to have a pair of mittens, does it need to have Sanford Health? Does it need to have Basin Electric? Does it need to have, not really. And I don't think the companies would say that either. So having a pair of gloves without branding, fantastic. But if it hinders us from being able to provide the gloves, then we're going to have to include it, because that's the mission, is to get things into keep people's hands. And we know that when we're looking at partners, there's a lot of in-kind opportunities. For example, First International Bank might have 1,000 winter hats already printed, and they're willing to give us 500 to support the entire program as a hypothetical. If that's the case, that's probably the way to go, because it is a better steward of our resources and allows us to do more with the money that we have. So it's not going to hinder us, but it was an important conversation just to speak through. Thank you.
I'll add just one more component to that answer, in that, we are representing the Bismarck-Mandan Chamber EDC. And so it is a matter of being very thoughtful about what is communicated outward. So, I mean, I agree with you that that's not a concern that's universal. And often it's just allowed, that branding, but nevertheless, the organization just wants to make sure that its projects are aligned with the right priorities and manages, you know, it is a public relations thing, and it's just something to handle thoughtfully. And the conversation was so useful because it made us really start thinking about the I-gear opportunity, just how affordable those items are. You know, Basin made it really clear from the beginning that they weren't wedded to branding at all on their end of things. And so it just kind of came together nicely to reaffirm the priorities as we juggle them.
Some other exciting things about the future of the program is that Basin Electric had voiced interest in not just serving Bismarck-Mandan, but other communities that the cooperative serves. So their commitment to it wasn't just this year in this town. It was, if this goes well, can we expand this to other communities that the electric cooperative serves? And that's a giant square footage area. So
If I could just add to his question, I think part of it comes from in the classroom versus out of the classroom. You know, in the classroom, you're taking, you know, classroom times into Basin and et cetera. Then some other, well, I'd just like to come and present this in the classroom. And, you know, that takes away from learning time and that. So I think they're very sensitive to the issue of how much class time and in classroom versus out of classroom.
Do you see this being, I guess, the Mandan component being its own self-contained aspect, or do you see this kind of combining with the Bismarck side and being one larger entity as it moves forward?
It's really two parts to that question. The answer is both. And right now on Bismarck, Sanford works with the Bismarck Public Schools Foundation to house the money. Obviously, to cross into Mandan, Bismarck is rightfully focused on Bismarck, so we need to have the Mandan partnership and have a separate dollar amount for Mandan. However, when we talk to Sanford, the key is wanting to be consistent. So students are receiving the same quality, the same number, the same amount of items, both Bismarck and Mandan. And so, for example, if a current partner says, yes, we want to go and support the Mandan program, but we don't want to give you any more money, which very well could happen, then that's going to be incumbent on our team to find another partner to supplement that so the program stays whole on both sides. That makes sense. And so then if there's that partners, that's where we're going to have to work and have good communication with both foundations, with Sanford, on making sure those dollars are allocated appropriately to the right part of the program.
And the items themselves could be, I guess, different if there's a strong business presence
Correct.
in Bismarck with a particular business, or Mandan to be able to focus their efforts on.
Correct.
Those
Yes,
specific
as long as the, you know, as we talk through it, as long as the item is of comparable quality and it's the same thing, whether it, you know, it's a winter hat with blue in Bismarck and green in Mandan, perfect.
Not so much a question, but more of some insight for you. You mentioned the fact that you're working with some students, high school students. Know that any honor society student who's applying to be part of the National Honor Society is required to put in a certain amount of hours and document that. There's a list that those students are required to work with. I would strongly suggest that you work with the schools, the high schools, to get on that list and get some of those National Honor Society students working with the organization to help you with that. It's a great project, and I could see lots of high school students being interested in helping with it.
Great idea, thank you.
To build on what Brenda was suggesting for volunteers, I wondered if this was the LBM project that never ends, or at what point you step back and say, okay, we have enough staffing, it's volunteered, it's going to be sustainable as far as workforce for this. Where is that at, and what decisions have you made regarding that?
So we had a lot of the same concerns. Nobody wants to start a project with a question mark at the end of it. And so oddly enough, Community Relations Director at Basin Electric, Jennifer Holland, presented a unique solution to that. And we already have a network of nonprofit organizations that we're allowed to kind of officially volunteer some of our company time for. And Jennifer Holland had alluded to the fact that this would be well within the scope of that program, so that if we are having a little bit of a question mark as to who's going to help man this effort in the future, there's an opportunity for Basin Electric employees to spend a day of their annual volunteer time to be able to stuff backpacks and then utilize the fleet of Basin Electric to deliver them. We have assets in place if that question mark should become larger, but it's been given due thought, and I think we have a pretty good solution in place.
And that was one of the primary concerns of the Mandan Public Schools Foundation we presented to that board was, what's your commitment? The person who asked the question, she was also very familiar with this program and how the projects usually were. You start it, you finish it, you say congratulations, and you walk away. So she had similar concerns, and so did Mr. Fleischer of, are we going to get stuck with all the work? And the answer is no, because they were also very comforted that one, Basin was already on board, and then two, Sanford, because neither organization is going anywhere. So that's an opportunity as well.
I'm a resident of Mandan, and so I'm not going anywhere myself either. So I'm happy to just continue to, as it evolves. I mean, we know it's a good thing if my involvement dwindles a little over time, because it means that it's really becoming sustainable. But I intend to, continue to be a source of communication and lend a helping hand, just to keep it afloat. And I honestly, to be honest, I don't exactly know how it will shake out over time. So what my role looks like over time, not really certain, but I'm flexible and I'm not moving. So there's that.
Any other questions?
Maybe one more. You spoke about the ability to expand this to other communities where the Basin Electric Co-op is. I mean, is there a requirement that it would be still under the Sanford umbrella, or is it more so that the concept would be permeated, and it might be somewhere in Arizona where Basin has a footprint, but maybe Sanford doesn't, and the community thinks Sanford cares in Arizona. I'm sorry that Sanford does have facilities in Arizona, but for example, may you speak to that concept?
We took that into consideration. If this grows beyond the scope of where the original partners want to participate, how do we answer that need? And I think the answer is going to be, Basin is prepared to assist expanding this program into communities that they serve and stepping up whatever that capacity might need. Right now, it's financially speaking, but we kind of just glossed over the I-gear thing. That's a unique strength that our project has, because not a lot of projects have a way to gain access to a zero margin supply line. No matter where you go buy stuff, there's always going to be a retailer that needs to pad their own pocket to stay in business. And we have the unique opportunity where we can forego some of those profits, and then all in the name of a donation to a just cause. So wherever it shall grow, we have partners in place that are willing to grow with it.
And I think that's one of the opportunities that our involvement, it's very exciting, that opens it up. Now, being honest, we haven't had much conversation on that. We've had initial conversations of, could it grow? We want to make sure that Bismarck-Mandan is served well first, and that program is sustainable in Bismarck-Mandan. And then eventually, then looking to where it grows. How that works, we haven't had those conversations, but with our partnerships and relationships that this team brings, that's the exciting avenue and opportunities that at least we can start having those conversations. And I think that's another key point with the I-gear. How can we, as a group, then enhance the program that's already existing in Bismarck, but then also starting with Mandan? Well, if we're able to get a better quality backpack for the same price, or more backpacks that are the same quality for the same price, that just benefits everyone all around as well. So
We wanted to make sure that every donor dollar that was involved in this project was going as far as humanly possible. I think we've arrived at a conclusion that's pretty close to that.
Do you think handing out the backpacks before, or like during the first week or two of school, would be a better time frame than at the mid-semester? I'm just wondering.
We don't have a date on the calendar circle right
Oh,
now.
okay.
Yeah,
I think we're open to anything
Yeah,
that,
no, it is a Christmas, a holiday time. Yeah, so we'll be.
And we have had those conversations with, we like mentioned, we've talked with Dr. Sean Oban, who is the principal at Jeanette Myrie prior to becoming principal at Verizon Middle School. Asked him those similar questions. Is the program, is the timing right? We talked to some teachers as well. Is the timing right? Is what's supplied inside the backpack right? Are we missing anything? And so we've had those conversations and discussions, and so far the feedback on the timing has been, the timing is good. And it allows a nice, and also we've received some feedback from teachers of, thank you so much. If you guys didn't come this student would not have had a Christmas gift this year. And so for that reason, it does enhance the holiday season as well. And I'm relaying that secondhand. Angie actually received that comment and 2 years ago. I didn't actually hear it, so I'm stealing her words, but.
Well, and I would just add, like, as a boy mom myself, around mid-year, you need a new backpack.
I know.
Any other questions?
thank you for your time.